Hello again, good evening everyone. Here's the NXTGEN World Tour Round 7, the penultimate round of the championship will be hosted by the Hungaroring. This evening we're going to be together on this broadcast for an hour and a half of racing, plus the qualifying session that has just started already, 15 minutes, to determine the grid positions for this key round of the championship, a round that might give us a clear perspective as to who is gonna be the champion. We've got a tight bunch of drivers. It's a tight pack at the top. Several brands, several drivers who represent those brands. They are still in the championship fight, and now everyone hits the track. We've got 19 drivers this evening together with us, and nobody from the top positions in the standings is absent on this Grand Prix track. We're in Hungary, the Hungaroring, very famous track. It's been in F1 since '86, but in GT racing, it's again a track that every year is visited by several important competitions. The GT World Challenge is one of them, so everyone is familiar in real racing terms with the tight and twisty Hungaroring racetrack. Less so are the sim racers. I can say that out of the 19 tracks that are currently in ACC, the Hungaroring is quite rarely used. It's not one of the most popular options for most championships. Usually you're gonna get tons and tons of laps on Spa, Monza, Bathurst, and similar tracks like this. These are the favored ones. The Hungaroring is one of these tracks where most of these drivers have had to do a little bit of extra preparation ahead of this round, because they didn't have all the refined setups from ACC 1.8, and they had to tweak their setups to work out a little bit more to be able to extract the speed out of their GT3s. Last time around I had Mihai Fira alongside me, a specialist in endurance racing. This time Mihai had a prior commitment. He's, if you're curious, that commitment has got nothing to do with racing. He's out there in town to see Louis C.K. I'm sure some of you know who Louis C.K. is. He's a world famous comedian, and yeah, Mihai had tickets to the show, which means I had the opportunity to sub him, to replace Mihai with somebody new. And this somebody is a real racing driver from here, from Romania, a real racing driver who witnessed F1 Grand Prix at the Hungaroring. So it's my pleasure to bring in here Radu Iordache alongside me for this evening. Hello, Radu. Just before we get some lap times on the board, what are your thoughts about it, and what do you think about this particular racetrack and how this fight will pan out?
Hi everyone, thanks for the invitation. It's a great track. I've been there a few times. I think 4 or 5 times. I've been also in the V8 era of F1. So there's always been fighting. There's always been a lot of fights on this track. There are loads of opportunities for overtaking. We've seen last year Lewis Hamilton trying desperately everywhere to overtake Fernando Alonso. So I think the guys in the GT3s will have some overtaking to do, especially with the cars being so equal. And we have this long straight for the faster cars, for the cars that have advantage on straight line, to demonstrate that.
Indeed, there's a mix. The Hungaroring has been changed last time in 2003, and since then we have this particular configuration, which has this longer pit straight. Before that, it was often called the countryside Monaco, just because you had just to follow other cars. You had very little opportunities, but now the first turn is a clear opportunity for overtaking, and it's not just that. In the third sector of the track, there's also an additional opportunity there that we will obviously see being used. Some people might think of the chicane as being another interesting area to attempt something, but I'm not too sure that after turn 5 you can be alongside without the one in front making a mistake. We'll see about that. We already have very close lap times at the head of the time sheet. We've got Seb Apostol giving us the first mark of the session, 142.8, and Castorino is only 2,000 of a second behind him. Zholobov 200ths of a second. Victor Nicolae 300ths of a second behind Apostol, and Harry Phillips 400ths of a second. You cannot get any closer than that. 5 drivers separated by less than 500ths of a second. 1/10 is the gap to Degano and Simeon, and we still don't have any solid lap times set by Whitehead, by Darren King. People we do expect to be battling out for this pole position. I do think that the pole position mark is important here at the Hungaroring, and it will determine the strategies as well, as you are already familiar from the 6 previous rounds, I'm sure. Here in the NXTGEN Racing World Tour, powered by SimGrid, we have a strategy of 2 pit stops, 2 mandatory pit stops to be done during the 90-minute race. One usually is kept for the middle part of the race. Usually drivers split their race in 2 in order to take on new tires. It's the longer pit stop, one that takes 30 seconds. That's the standard in ACC for a tire change. In parallel, they do refuel. And you have another Joker pit stop where it's just a condition of the series. You come in and take aboard a minimum of 1 liter of fuel, so it's a very short stay. And that is also important from a strategic perspective. So if somebody, let's say, fails in qualifying, he feels that he can be faster and that he's not there, he didn't nail the lap during this short session, then he can get himself out of the pack. He can run in clear air. Of course, more than one driver might attempt this strategy. We have seen it on previous rounds. So some of them will do this Joker pit stop very early on. Others will keep it right till the death, till the final few laps. It's not gonna rain today, that's for sure, but we're on for a great show. So as we can see, Apostol and Castorino's times are still there at the head of this timing sheet, and now we have Luca Degano on a good lap. Let's see if he can improve. He's got that crucial 10th of a second that he's looking for. You see him. Main issue here at the Hungaroring is overcoming the track limits, so a lot of lap times will be cancelled during this session just because people are going wide. You have some asphalt runoffs that might be tempting for the drivers in order to set a fast lap time. Degano comes into the pits, so he's aborting this this lap. Let's see who else is on a on a nice flyer. We've got the Bentley of David Büge, and we're with him right when he was going across the limit, so this is not a valid lap for him either. He's preparing for the next one. You can see on the track map everyone is in the same area on the racetrack. It's quite strange. People are not giving themselves enough room. Half of the racetrack is completely empty now, and everybody's bunching up in other areas. And I can't say that it's an advantage here on the Hungaroring to keep close to another car. The slipstreaming effect is not considerable. I don't think they're chasing a tow like you would do on Monza or Paul Ricard or other racetracks that we've been to or are fast enough to do this. So, let's see what else we have here. We still have Luke Whitehead not setting the tone yet. But as we can see, he's in 11th place. He's out of the top 10, but it's still a third of a second behind Seb Apostol's current lap time. I've been speaking, of course, to our Romanian contingent of Apostol, Nicolae and Simeon. They told me they don't feel very comfortable on this racetrack. They feel that we have a lot of work to do to set up the BMW to fit this racetrack. And even with a perfect setup, it still might not be enough. So, yeah, I think it's time also to look at the standings, to see who's fighting for what. And then we'll see the final flyers. So, after the Bathurst race, which saw Zholobov finally claiming a win in the 6th round of the championship, he's now leading with 17 points ahead of Victor Nicolae. So, we've got a Ferrari in first position, then the BMWs of Nicolae and Castorino in close companion, and then it's the Porsche of Harry Phillips, who had a round to forget at Bathurst. He came as championship leader to that round, and now he's 25 points behind, and that might be considerable. I would say that these four are the championship contenders. It would take a tiny miracle for Whitehead and Apostol to claw back this deficit, and that's why I also added on the graphics the scoring for this series. You can see that you've got 75 points for a win, 70 for a P2, 67 for a P3, and then it decreases by 2 with each finishing position. So you cannot gain a lot if you finish the race, only if your scoring position is also adds up with some important misfortune for the others. But you might have misfortune for 1, for 2, but you've got 4 drivers ahead of Whitehead. I don't really see all 4 of them having such sheer bad luck. And Whitehead, yeah, he might be the favorite again to claim a win here, but it might not be enough. He's 55 points behind Zholobov. He needs at least Zholobov to have a very, very messy round, and a messy round means a DNF. It doesn't mean just being a bit lower, a bit on 7th or 10th or 13th, because that means enough points. He needs Zholobov not to finish this race, and usually these DNFs come only on technical issues. We see now Whitehead, he is on top of the timing sheets with more than half a second in front of Seb Apostol. I've been expecting this lap time. Just to finish with the standings, behind Apostol there's a close fight between Luca Degano from Cortec Racing and Dragoș Simeon from West Competition Racing. They're aiming for P7, and anything else is a bonus for them. This is how the standings look like. So we're looking at 4 people in the championship fight. Whitehead and Apostol firing up their last shot, I would say, for the championship, and we'll see how it goes. 1 minute remaining in this qualifying session, and Whitehead now has the measure of everyone in the field. Unfortunately, we don't see Darren King that high up the grid, and he's in the pit lane. We won't see him improving on this 10th place. Seb Apostol, this is a very solid lap time from him. He found some extra tenths there. Victor Nicolae also found them, and he has some ballast there, so it's even more impressive. Let's look at the timing sheets. Now we see the ballast. Luke Whitehead has 12 kilograms of ballast. Zholobov has 20 following his victory at Bathurst. We've got 16 kilograms for Darren King, P2 there, and then Nicolae and Castorino 8 kilograms and 4 kilograms respectively. We see people already retiring. We also see some other people who are attempting to do a little bit more. Let's see, Victor Nicolae has started a very solid lap. Let's see if he can claw back that position. Harry Phillips and Oleg Zholobov surpassed him. He's now down to 5th place, second of the BMWs, second of his particular team, and he's more than 2/10 behind Apostol, and that means a bit more than those 8 kilograms of ballast. But this is a good lap. He's now between 2 and 3/10 up on his previous time. Let's see what Victor Nicolae can do in the dying moments of this session. Degano, Dinardo, Darren King, Ivan Fornes, they are all done. Almost everyone is in the pit lane now. We only have Castorino and Simeon trying to improve as well. Castorino crosses the line and moves up to 4th place. So it's another one down for Victor Nicolae, who goes a little bit wide in the penultimate turn, and we'll see if he lost everything. It seems so. Yeah, he's aborting this lap. It's gone for him. We're gonna finish this session with Dragoș Simeon. He's gonna be improving. He might end up 3rd or 4th. Let's see what Dragoș does in the number 99 BMW. He's up to 5th again. He's near Castorino. He had so many fights with Castorino during this championship, and he's ready for another one. So it's Whitehead on pole with half a second in front of Phillips. Phillips has dispatched Seb Apostol. Then we have Castorino, Simeon. Zholobov, the championship leader, is down to 6th place. So he's got work to do. And second in the standings, Victor Nicolae is right behind him in 7th. Luca Degano is in 8th place. So basically, the top 8 drivers in the overall standings are the top 8 drivers in different mixes, of course, on the grid here at the Hungaroring, because this time Raffaele Dinardo and especially Darren King, who was on the podium last time around, couldn't mix with the top positions. Let's see if he can do it during the race. We've got a few minutes now to clear our throats, especially some of us who have some issues today. Yeah, I'm talking about myself. So what are your thoughts after this qualifying session, Radu? What should we expect during this race?
Whitehead and Phillips look pretty fast. I see a Porsche double. Then we see the Romanians that said that they aren't really prepared and they lack some performance, but they managed to get 3rd and 5th. Castorino is between them, so I don't know when the start if Castorino is going to be squeezed, or if they're going to take the safe approach and do an endurance race as it is and not a sprint.
What do you think about the inside line here at the start? We do remember many incidents in Formula 1, let's say, which is the most popular. We remember what Bottas did last time around on that inside line. I do think it's useful to have that inside line at the start here. It's going to be a rolling start. You are accustomed to these rolling starts. Do you see it as an advantage coming down towards turn 1?
Yes, it is an advantage, but you have to get the breaking point. Talking about that Bottas case, you have to get the breaking point as you should. Otherwise, the guys on the outside might bring some more speed and then close the corner, close the apex, and they might end up in front. There's going to be a mix. Let's see how many cars end up on the inside, on the outside, and let's hope for no incidents.
Yeah, usually we've had clean starts in this series. Rarely did we have monster crashes and stuff like that. I think the level of racing here in the NXTGEN Racing World Tour has been awesome. I mean, really, we've had incidents, of course, but usually there were small incidents later in the race involving 2 cars and nothing really dramatic. The only exception has been the start at Laguna Seca, which is really similar because again it's a very narrow first turn. It's technically the second turn, the Andretti hairpin, but it's the first one is flat out. You can't just call it a turn. There, some of Luke Whitehead's championship expectations have gone away just because yeah, he was involved in an incident. He was tagged into a spin and sent right down at the end of the pack by Danila Cerepenin, one of the fast drivers that aren't here anymore. Cerepenin was one. Tinko van der Velde from the Williams Esports racing team was also a presence early on in the series in the first 2 rounds. I've been expecting this battle between van der Velde and Whitehead, but surprise, surprise, the pre-championship favorites are not the ones that are battling out for this title. Van der Velde is not here anymore, the Dutch driver, and Luke Whitehead had two misfortunes at Imola, where Seb Apostol won the race, and also at Bathurst, I think. Yeah, he had a few rounds where he couldn't win. He's got 3 wins and a DNF at Imola, a 9th place in round 5 at Snetterton, where he got a stop and go of 30 seconds that took him out of the battle for the win that he was dicing up with Victor Nicolae there. And then he was third last time around on the mountain. Probably the Porsche wasn't the best car to have there, but he still salvaged 3rd place. He's a world-class esports driver, but unfortunately, yeah, that string of not so great results compensates with the scoring system his 3 wins. The other wins, I've said, one went to Apostol in round 2 at Imola, and we've had additional victories for Harry Phillips at Snetterton and the championship leader Oleg Zholobov last time around at Bathurst. Who's gonna win this time around? It sure looks like Luke Whitehead has a customary great chance of winning, but will it be enough? Let's see. Yeah, I need to respond to Roxana as well. Yeah, we are speaking in English here just because we are subbing for Paul Walsh, who is the regular commentator of the series. So it means that everyone who is supporting the other teams and not just us, not just the Romanian contingent, is here on the stream. So I'm welcoming everyone around together with Rado, and let's have a good one. We're in the formation lab. At the sunny Hungaroring, 22 degrees is the track. The air temperature 29 at the track. No chances of rain. I've been telling you this, so it's clear. It's clear to me that this is gonna be a full-on slick race, and this is a familiar perspective at the Hungaroring. Usually it doesn't rain here, but when it happens, every couple of years, if we're talking in F1 terms, it's madness. It's a crazy show.
Kind of low temperatures every time we go to the F1 race at the Hungaroring. We're having track temperatures of over 40 degrees Celsius. So to have 22 degrees is good for a spectator to stay and watch the race, especially an endurance race that is 1 hour and 30 minutes, so it's chilly now.
Yeah, you're also involved in endurance racing, and what you're gonna see really soon is very similar to what we're doing back home to the Romanian Endurance Series. It's gonna be a rolling start, 2 by 2, everyone. This is the standard procedure in ACC. You cannot have standing starts in the series, and nobody does standing starts with GT3 cars, that's for sure. We're really close to the end of this formation lap, so this only means that the start is gonna be really soon. Let's see all our estimates about the inside line, about being in different positions, about having incidents or not there on the approach to turn 1. All this will get an answer. We've got 20 drivers ready to hit the track for these 90 minutes, and I do assume that we're gonna see some pit stops very early on, with people who are out of position, maybe people with damage. Let's see now as we approach the starting grid, and now we have green lights And away we go on the Hungaroring. It's Harry Phillips versus Luke Whitehead. And we have Seb Apostol, who is attempting something on the inside line. And he is really careful not to tag Whitehead into a spin. He's using the good traction of the BMW to move ahead. And so does Dragoș Simeon, who is now on the outside approach to turn 2. He's trying to stay alongside with Harry Phillips, but I think he will force the issue there. And now Castorino is on the outside of him and takes the place. Also, Victor Nicolae claims that spot, leaving Dragoș vulnerable to Oleg Zholobov. Darren King now attempts the inside line on Zholobov. So Zholobov made no progress. He's down to 7th place, and 7th might be down to 8th really soon as they go in parallel through the chicane. Okay, there's a little bit of dicing and blocking there from Zholobov to Darren King, and one of the Mercedes drivers tried to make a move, tried to improve his position in this race. So we had a very clean start. This is what we can all cherish and enjoy. This lovely start. Nobody made a mess out of that start. And in the lead from 3rd place we have Sebastian Apostol, who did the Bottas move, but without tagging anyone into a spin. He forced the issue on the inside line and claimed the position from the 2 Porsche drivers ahead of him.
It was really a clean start. Also the chicane, where we've seen loads of events. Nobody seemed to have cut the chicane in this first lap.
Indeed, that's a very good observation. Everyone went cleanly through there. On the exit, yeah, Zholobov forced his Ferrari on the right, and Darren King had nowhere to go. We see some drivers already pitting. We've got Fornes, the best placed guy to go towards the pit lane. We've got 6 cars in there. It's not just Fornes, it's also Marcus Fox, Cristian Dembrini, Giovanni Izzo, Joe Coffin, and Garrett Mills, and they are all rejoining the track, with Fornes now having clear track ahead of him. But we will see if somebody else decides at the end of lap 2 or lap 3 to do the same, if they will block the path of Ivan Fornes. But what I do expect is to see drivers that are fast attempting this strategy, this Joker pit stop very early on in the race. We've got 6 drivers going towards the pit lane, but not everyone is out of the pit lane. We've lost already Giovanni Izzo. Again, the 4 Italian Mercedes contingent is now down to 3, with Izzo retiring, and 19 cars are still on the racetrack. Seb Apostol leads the race, but the pressure is on from Luke Whitehead. He keeps really close to the Romanian driver as we complete lap number 2. Let's see if everyone remains on the track, or if somebody goes towards the pit lane. No, nobody feels that they need to get out of this train that is being led by Apostol. And we got something very rare here, as Apostol is outbraking himself a little bit. Apostol and Whitehead, they are sharing the fastest lap of the race because they set identical lap times, 1:43, 4:75 for both of them. Of course, this situation will not stay there for long. Obviously, lap times will be dropping from now on, but Apostol is clinging on to this position that he gained through good racecraft at the start. Whitehead P2, and then Harry Phillips is not immediately close to Whitehead. He doesn't have ballast, but he doesn't seem to have the speed of Whitehead. And I do remember Victor Nicolae saying that in several previous rounds, Seb Apostol was the only one to have the speed to match Whitehead, and he's now a bit wide, and this is a beautiful dice on this twisty section. And Whitehead again tries an inside line, and Phillips is now also there. Whitehead can make this move stick. Can he? No. Now Castorino will also bunch up, and Phillips is waiting for his moment there. Let's see if he attempts something. Castorino on the outside line. No way for Castorino to pass. Of course, this is what happens. Phillips is going towards the pit lane. He needs to try and attempt an undercut on these guys. He feels that he can be faster compared to the leading tempo that Seb Apostol is setting now. We have 6 cars in the leading pack, and then Darren King comes with Luca Degano and Raffaele Di Nardo in a secondary pack. But yeah, Apostol managed to fend off Whitehead's first attempt.
To see if the undercut works, we will have to wait one more lap to see how the guys that have pitted in the first lap are going, because they are running in free air. They don't have any fighting to do. So we should see in a couple of moments the lap that they have finished. Let's just wait for them, and we will have then an idea about the move that Phillips has done.
I'm really curious whether somebody will attempt to cover Phillips now during this lap, when we will be reaching again the end of this tour of the Hungaroring. We see Van Fornes. Harry Phillips is right ahead of him. Now he's the leading driver that has pitted once, has done the short pit stop. He's now, yeah, in clear air, 17 seconds behind the Lamborghini of raw stance, so it's gonna take him a while. Let's see the comparative lap times when he'll be setting out some flyers. This is his out lap, and then yeah, we'll be in with that. Victor Nicolae, he's trying to respond to Harry Phillips. I don't think he can claim that position, but he's clearly looking at the bigger picture, at the championship standings, and he leaves Zholobov there in the mix. He feels that he can run faster behind Harry Phillips. We'll see how his pit stop goes. Zholobov is now up to 5th place, and he's blocked behind Simeon, who is racing also really well in this start of the race. Then we have Darren King, Luca Degano, and Raffaele Di Nardo. Let's see where Harry Phillips is. He's on the main straight, and he will take the place from Victor Nicolae. We will see this. Yeah, they're really close together, and Nicolae might have the inside line in turn 1. Yeah, he's there alongside. He tries to defend, but the next turn will be a left-hand turn, so it's favorable for Phillips. This is the comparison between the braking points of the two cars, and Nicolae thinks better of it and goes behind Phillips. This might be frustrating, but I think he had a really slim chance of taking that position. Now he's attempting something in a very fast corner where you might have a monster crash if you're really going for it. Again, he's keen on making a move past Phillips. So now in this second pack of the guys have already pitted, there's also something that affects their pace, which is their internal duel. It means that they are not lapping in clear air and going as fast as they can, because they need to cover up one another. So this means Castorino will also join in this party. He's heading for the pit lane. Everyone feels that can be faster than the leaders, but in front the overtake has been completed by Luke Whitehead in front of Seb Apostol. Let's see what pace can Luke Whitehead set now in front of the race, once he doesn't have Apostol anymore to battle with. Castorino exits the pit lane, and he's in front of Phillips and Victor Nicolae. We're losing the second Mercedes once more. There's an issue in Italy with these Mercedes guys. I've seen this at Bathurst happening, and again here we've lost Izzo, and now Nembrini is out of the race. We're down to 18 cars. So Castorino, Phillips, and Victor Nicolae are battling on in this pack of drivers that have already pitted once. We're on board with Victor through the second sector of the racetrack. There's nothing he can do strategically now. He cannot pit again because he won't have enough fuel to go to the end, so he's kind of stuck here behind Phillips. Even though he feels that he can be faster, there's nothing he can do except the overtake, if that's possible. Let's see if somebody else will respond to these entries. Nobody from the top group at the moment has decided to do so. Now Whitehead has no reason to pit once he's past Apostol. I think Zholobov might get impatient behind the BMW, and in here we see the big difference in the approach of the last turn between Victor Nicolae and Harry Phillips, who had the twitch there in the middle of the corner, but it's not enough to destabilize that Porsche. I don't think this move is on. He's way too far behind Victor Nicolae, and he thinks better of it. Harry Phillips points his car correctly at the apex. He has the optimal approach, so this battle moves on. Here we have Zholobov, and we can listen to the Ferrari. He sees the top three drivers in front of him, and he has seen the rear of Dragoș Simeon's BMW for quite some time. Okay, here's the first penalty coming up. It's one for Cody Cosford. 5 seconds. This is what he's getting. And here Zholobov is really close to Dragoș Simeon. But there's no easy way through on the Hungaroring. Luke Whitehead found the second and his gap is increasing compared to Apostol. Apostol shouldn't be too worried about this. He must focus on his own race, on his own pace, and be happy to be ahead of other fast cars, and especially ahead of the championship leader of Oleg Zholobov. It's clear that the aim of the BMW trio of West Competition Racing is to put as many cars in front of Zholobov. But at the moment, Dragoș Simeon is running at a normal pace. He's not doing anything nasty. There's no slowing down intentionally to keep Zholobov off pace. Let's see whether Zholobov will react. Until now, he decided against it. 7 laps into this race, and he hasn't steered right towards the pit lane, and now we're in that area once more, and he decides to stick there behind Dragoș Simeon for at least another lap. Soon he'll be having Darren King for company. Darren King has been a bit faster than Simeon, so he's closing into that third place. There are enough BMWs there. Victor Nicolae keeps on being stuck behind Harry Phillips. It's a battle that matters in the overall classification. We see there Phillips is only 8 points behind Nicolae, and everyone in the top 5 will get important prizes in this championship. So every position counts. I'm sure both Phillips and Nicolae, and also Castorino, are thinking of where they will end this series. Even if they are not champions, even if they cannot dispatch Zholobov, it really matters whether you are P2, P3 or P4. And these three guys who are P2, P3 and P4 in the standings are now in lower positions after their first pit stop.
It seems for the moment that Whitehead is running in much faster times. We've seen earlier the only time under 143, and he's still lapping there. There's been a 143.2. Now there's a 143.0 for him. So he's much faster than the rest. Victor Nicolae had quite a fast time a few laps ago when he wasn't battling that much Phillips, and he was just gaining and gaining at a low 143. But now it seems that he's being kept behind in a time where he should pass as fast as possible, because Castorino has just posted a 143.2 and is going away from them.
Yeah, it's a personal best for Castorino. And now the gap is over 3 seconds from Castorino to Phillips. Here Zholobov has to focus in his rearview mirrors as well now, because Darren King is now really close to him. The Mercedes guys are not yet in this close train, so Darren King can only focus on the attack. Let's see what he can do compared to the Ferrari, as laps are being completed here and the Hungaroring. We don't see them pitting, so they must feel that they're not losing that much time behind Dragoș Simeon. Seb Apostol, though, has lost a second compared to Luke Whitehead on the previous lap, and now he's got Dragoș Simeon only 1 second behind him, and Dragoș Simeon has been just as fast. So there's nothing to choose between these two drivers, which keeps Zholobov and King confident that they can snatch not only Simeon's position but also Apostol's. Clearly Castorino laps way faster than these guys, and more than that, I would say that Castorino, Phillips and Nicolae, who are down in the mid 43s now, they are all gaining on this pack led by Apostol and comprised of Simeon, Zholobov and Darren King as well. So it's a good operation, even if Victor Nicolae's pace is compromised by Harry Phillips. Together they are still lapping faster than this pack that we're just seeing, which might help them out later on in the race. Here's Harry Phillips, and we see that Castorino has made a move already. He caught up to Fraser Rostens and overtook the Lamborghini, and now Phillips is not under pressure from Victor Nicolae anymore. He found half a second on this lap with Nicolae down in the 44s. This time the pack led by Apostol has been faster than Nicolae and Harry Phillips.
I think we are starting to see some tire degradation, because all times have been dropping in the last lap. Even Whitehead started to, for sometimes they are not as fast as in the last minutes. It's been a 143.3, while the rest are lapping in high 143s. They're starting to be more and more 144s. So we should see in what lap they are going to pit and do the regular pit stop, not the short one. And if the guys in front are going to do the short pit stop at the end, or just after or before the regular pit stop.
Yes, absolutely. We see now Harry Phillips making the move past Rostens really fast, and now it's time for Victor Nicolae to do the same, but Rostens decides not to even battle with the Romanian BMW driver. He moves aside. He knows that he's a few seconds off pace, and he doesn't want that pressure on anymore after the battles that he had with Castorino and Phillips. This moves Victor Nicolae back a bit closer to the Porsche driver. Let's see the difference to Castorino now. Castorino crosses the start-finish timing beam, and Harry Phillips is 3.6 seconds behind him. Castorino has a clear track in front. Cosford is 10 seconds ahead. It will take him some time. Of course, Cosford is some almost 2 seconds per lap slower than Castorino, but that still amounts to 5 clear laps until he reaches that position. Back in front, Dragoș Simeon has closed in to his teammate Sebastian Apostol, and he's bringing some company to this party. He cannot shake off neither Zholobov or Darren King. Luca Degano cannot stay close to this group. He remains a bit in arrears with his teammate, his sole teammate in the race, Raffaele Di Nardo. They are in close company, the 2 Mercedes drivers. But here we have 4-car pack. Darren King has lost something on this lap, and Apostol is the first one to move out of the group. Of course, the others decide to do the opposite. We've seen these mind games and these opposing strategies even a few days ago in the F1 race, where Ferrari basically forced Red Bull into making a pit stop for Sergio Perez, and Perez lost his place on the podium given the unfortunate circumstances of a VSC after that. But yeah, in here we don't have any safety cars, any ways of neutralizing the race with full course yellows and stuff like that. It's all on pace. Let's see where Seb Apostol will end up compared to Castorino. He's behind Castorino, but he's ahead of Phillips. Now his role changes. He might need to throw a helping hand to Victor Nicolae, who overshoots the first braking point. We see him going wide and rejoining the track. I really don't know whether Apostol will have the pace to gap Harry Phillips, or he will become a blocking point. To him, Zholobov spins. Zholobov spins. This is an essential part of this race. What happens here? We are catching only the final part of this move, but this is a dent in his armor. He was, spun around, or he spun by himself, but I really don't think so, given his experience and his quality. Here we see Zholobov going down through the standings. He's got some damage as well. He's out of that fight. He's now lost 13 seconds on this lap. David Bugge is right behind him and will try to make a move in the Soul Bentley that we have here. Let's see whether Zholobov will go towards the pit lane. No, he does not, which means that he will now chase the Aston Martin of Martin Ulrich. It's the Aston Martin Ulrich right ahead of him, the number 41. Here it is, 8 seconds behind the 2 Mercedes drivers. But yeah, this is crucial for Zholobov. He's now clearly behind Apostol, Phillips, Castorino, and Nicolae whenever he decides to make his Joker pit stop. This moves him further behind. I do think that something happened that also involved Darren King, because Dragoș Simeon now has a big gap to Darren. Darren was quite close. It was just Zholobov in between them, and now we have 2.6 seconds between these two cars, and King has Degano and Di Nardo for company. We see the BMW out of the shot just as Degano steers into this middle section of the racetrack. Now we have Cosford in the pits, which means one less issue for Castorino. He doesn't need to overtake Castorino anymore, and Darren King gets the drive-through, and he decides that enough is enough. As soon as he sees the drive-through, he teleports himself to the pits, and yeah, I think he decides to quit this race, given that he won't have any more of a chance. It's unfortunate, but yeah, if he was judged responsible for this incident, he would have been thrown further behind. So we are losing an important element of this race, and that element is Darren King. Now one less thing to worry about for the front runners. Let's go on board on the right-hand drive Bentley with David Bugge up to 7th place. The top 7 drivers haven't pitted. Rostens is in the same situation. All the rest of 9 drivers have already done their Joker lap. And now it's Zholobov's time to go and attack Martin Ulrich. Here's the Aston Martin with the Ferrari of the championship leader right behind him. He was the innocent party in that move. Out of the chicane, the first time they encountered themselves was in the initial lap. There was a move there by King trying to overtake Zholobov, and the second time they had a contact which left Zholobov further behind. Now we see the overtake being completed with relative ease, which means Zholobov is now up to 4th place, and ahead of him you see Luke Whitehead having an 8-second advantage to Dragoș Simeon. Simeon has absolutely no pressure from behind because he can clearly be faster than Luca Degano and Raffaele Di Nardo. That's quite obvious for him. He's got a 4.5 second gap, and we'll see where he will end up compared to Seb Apostol. He was close to Apostol, which means that Castorino is now on course to be second in this race once everyone will complete their pit stops. So yeah, let's see about that. Here we have Apostol with Harry Phillips in close company. Victor Nicolae is not really here. They are all in the 43.7, 43.8. So similar pace from these two. And we can say the same thing about Castorino in front. Also 43.8 last time around. Tire deg, as you said, Radu, matters more and more. But we're still quite a long way to go to the middle point of this race. 45 minutes out of the 90 is when most of these guys will be aiming for their pit stop. Let's see if we will see the exception, the strategy that the Mercedes drivers were using, and very few other people will have copied them by now, of not changing tires, of going till the end with really used rubber, and having a shorter pit stop, like pushing their mandatory pit stop as late as possible, starting with a full tank of fuel, and pushing it way past the hour mark, and then attempting to do a short stint, and of course losing some time, losing some positions on track given their high tire wear. But sometimes it works. Now Cosford gets a DT, a drive-through as well. He was second to last in this race, but now he will move probably behind Garrett Mills. It's about that time to do a drive-through here. I assume some 20 seconds he will be losing, and he's got 17 seconds in the gap to the Porsche driver behind him. Raffaele Di Nardo has made the switch. He moved ahead of Luca Degano. I think they decided to do so peacefully within the team. They decided that Di Nardo is the faster guy, and that he should try and match his pace to the one of Simeon behind, or to the ones that have already pitted. We'll see whether Di Nardo can make an impression on Castorino, Apostol, Phillips, or Dragoș Simeon. But as it stands, Di Nardo has almost 6 seconds to claw back to Simeon.
We've seen some footage for the last laps of Apostol fighting with Phillips. Apostol seems to... I don't know how the track limits are on ACC or on Hungaroring, but it seems to be for a couple of laps on the inside of the chicane, the left part, the last part of the chicane in the back. He seemed to cut to touch the bumper, not the bumper,
yeah, that sausage curb, that
curb, that's sausage. He seems to be on the inside of it. I don't know if he's going to get any not a penalty, but just to let him know.
Yeah, he will get
the track limits.
Three warnings, that's for sure. He can cut the track with no important gain, but with the time gain 3 times. He will get 3 warnings. The 4th one would be a DT. Probably that's what Cosford got as well. But yeah, I'm sure that some of these drivers already have accumulated some warnings in the first half hour. So yeah, they need to be careful, and they can't abuse these track limits where you gain a lot of time. Yeah, but on the other hand, in ACC, if you just cross those lines and do not gain an advantage, then it's not going to be a warning. So I think that after hundreds of laps of practice, they know where the limits are in the game, not the visual ones. Sometimes they might differ a bit. What we're seeing seems like an obvious cut, an obvious gain here in the chicane maybe, but within the platform it's not like that. It might be legal, and the track limit may be defined a bit further on the runoff of some corners. I've seen that in Paul Ricard, in other tracks as well, and it's essential for drivers to practice and see how far they can go without getting penalized. That's for sure. Apostol does a 44.0. Raffaele Di Nardo 43.9, so that's similar. Luke Whitehead still the fastest guy in this race. We haven't seen him since quite a while, since he moved past Seb Apostol. He's running away with the victory for the 4th time in 7 rounds. Here we see Luke tackling that chicane that you spoke about. His gap to Dragoș Simeon will soon be of more than 10 seconds. I expect this to keep on increasing, because Luke Whitehead has no issue running into the 43 still, despite the tire wear and everything else. Whilst other drivers, yeah, only rarely do they post a 43 still. Basically only Castorino, Seb Apostol, Victor Nicolae and Raffaele Di Nardo were capable of still running in the 43s last time around. It's not decisive, but yeah, the battle for second place is clearly one to watch. Seems to go towards Castorino, but you can never be too sure. Dragoș Simeon will be in that mix as well, and he has absolutely no reason to do his Joker pit stop now. He will wait till the middle part of the race, do the regular pit stop with tire change and so on, and then leave the final dash, the final pit stop for 1 liter of fuel till the end of the race. So he's basically on what in F1 terms we call a plan A, given that he's got a clear track ahead of him. Of course, he's got some back markers, but it's just one. It's just Mills ahead of him. He will catch a Mills probably in a lap or two. He moved past Cosford. Let's see where Simeon is. He's approaching turn 5, and yeah, we see the gap continuing to increase between Whitehead and Simeon. Again, this shouldn't worry anyone in this race. I think it's out of their reach now. I think Whitehead has proven that he has the ultimate pace on the Hungaroring in this race, which can only mean one thing: everyone else is battling for second place. And yeah, that's close, and that's fascinating.
Yeah, Whitehead seems to be in a league of his own in this race. Nobody can match his times. But looking at the timesheet, there are Ulrich and Wej, who are the only ones running in 145s in top 10, or we can even say in top 15. Everyone behind them is running 144s, even 143.9 for Castorino. I don't know if Ulrich is necessarily keeping Wej behind, or is that even his real pace? But at the moment they are not helping each other, and clearly Castorino at this rate is going to catch them sooner or later.
Absolutely, they haven't stopped. They're the last of those who haven't stopped, except Rostens, who is definitely slower in the 46s. But these two, the Aston and the Bentley driver, They are battling for a 6th place now, but they will be out of the top 10 really soon when they will perform their pit stops. Of course, Zholobov has moved past Ulrich and has gapped him with ease, and now you see Zholobov 6 seconds behind Degano and trying to close that gap. Dinardo and Degano did a 44.2 last time around. Zholobov was down in the 43s, a 43.9, which is the same time that the leader of this race is doing. Luke Whitehead also in with a 43.9. And yeah, I am expecting now in less than 10 minutes to have some of the lengthier pit stops. And let's see how much fuel some of these competitors have decided to embark. It doesn't really mean a lot if you commit yourself to a tire change. It doesn't really make much sense to do something else to stay longer. You need to benefit from the best tires that you have. So there's no point in, let's say, staying for a full hour and then changing tires. If you are changing tires, you need to do it at mid-race. It's gonna be the fastest way of going through the distance. Which means in about 8 minutes we'll be seeing some pit stops. Some of them may be earlier than that, some of them later than that. Let's go back to Harry Phillips. He doesn't really make much of an impression to Seb Apostol, and neither does Victor Nicolae to Phillips. He once he was there 2 seconds behind Phillips. I think he had some tire issues, and that's why we see now Victor Nicolae going towards the pit lane. He's the first guy to do so. He makes his pit stop a bit earlier than expected, probably because he wasn't happy with the tire pressures and he wants a new set of boots to push again. He knows what he's capable of. He's capable of a 43.6 in this car that also has a little bit of ballast. But yeah, if we compare this to what we've seen in Quali, he wasn't able to match Castorino's pace until now, so probably the second tire set might give him the edge to move a little bit closer to the 43.2 that Castorino did. Okay, you have 8 kilograms of ballast, that might amount to the final few hundredths of a second, maybe a tenth, but clearly not 4/10ths of a second, as we have seen in Quali. He moves up in clear air. He's right behind Luke Whitehead, 1 lap down now, but with both pit stops completed by Victor Nicolae and no pit stops completed by the leading 7, Whitehead had a bit of a messy lap this time around, 44.2. Simeon was in the 43s. He's clearly confident now. He managed the tire wear quite well because he's the fastest guy on the racetrack on the 22nd lap that he had just completed. Raffaele Di Nardo remains 5 seconds behind him. Degano, Zholobov, and then Ulrich and Bugge are close to one another, as we have just seen. So Dragoș has little reason, in my opinion, to come to the pits. I think he's quite okay with his pace now. Same can be said about Seb Apostol now. He found half a second to get Phillips. He doesn't have Phillips very close now. There's more than a second between them. And yeah, it's time to see what Phillips does if he tries to cover Victor Nicolae, because if Nicolae finds 2 or 3 very, very fast laps, he can jump ahead of Phillips, and this might be relevant for his championship aspirations.
In the fight that I was talking earlier on, it seems that they are still blocked at in the 145s, low 145s indeed, but still the only guys at 145, and Castorino is closing the gap more and more. Only 7 seconds remaining till he catches Buej. But then we're talking about something different, about Castorino passing those two drivers, which is going to be the one under the most under stress, because he's going to be the one in the middle, defending from Castorino, but also trying desperately to get past Ulrich.
I don't know. Let's see when they decide to pit. I think, yeah, all three of them will be pitting really soon, so Castorino will have a chance to take on this duel later on, because now's the time for the main pit stop, which is approximately the same time for Ulrich, Bugge and Castorino, and then these two will be leaving their Joker pit stop right to the end of the race, probably, which means that Castorino, yes, will close and will have to make these moves on track before these two will be going for their second pit stop. That's the logical approach. That's yeah, how we're trying to see the future shaping. Usually racing is not like that, and we get a lot of surprises and stuff that doesn't go well, like the two Mercedes drivers retiring from this race, and then Darren King hitting Zholobov, tagging him into a spin, and then deciding to call it a day once he got a drive-through, because yeah, his only aim is to run at the front. He's not in the championship fight, so he decided to end his race prematurely. Cosworth is in the pit lane now, but yeah, he's not a factor here. Who's also in? Castorino. Here we see Castorino heading towards the pit lane. Let's see what Victor Nicolae did. A 43.7. Yeah, that was a great lap from Victor on new tires, but not a lot of gain to Harry Phillips. Harry Phillips decides to stay out, and he will be vulnerable to Victor Nicolae if he doesn't pit really soon. Victor might jump him. Castorino is safe. He was like 3 seconds ahead of Phillips. It's impossible for Nicolae to claw back all this deficit. Nicolae is now running behind Luke Whitehead, as Castorino is stationary, so is Ivan Fornes, so is Garrett Mills. Now not just Cosworth in the pit lane. We've got a flurry of activity there with 4 drivers in the pit area. Cosworth has exited that area, and now Castorino is also slowly moving towards turn 1. Obviously he's ahead of Victor Nicolae. Let's see what Victor Nicolae does. He does a personal best now. It's a 43.2. Compare it with Harry Phillips, who did a 43.9, so he gained 7/10 on this second lap of that he's been on since the pit stop. So I think it's already the pressure on Harry Phillips to cover this this attempted undercut of Victor Nicolae. I think we'll be seeing him really soon. But now we're seeing Apostol going towards the pit lane, and Harry Phillips decides to do otherwise. So he's staying out for another lap, and this lap is a 44.0. So if Victor Nicolae is down in the 43s again, then I think he made up all that 2-second deficit to Harry Phillips, and this has massive implications in the championship fight. Let's see where Apostol will come out. Maybe he'll be behind Nicolae too. We'll see about that. It's gonna be a good indication of where Phillips is gonna be once Apostol rejoins the racetrack. Victor Nicolae is on a fast lap. He's got the best guy in this session right ahead of him. He's clearly not gonna be impacted by Luke Whitehead ahead, and now Whitehead goes towards the pit lane for his main stop, for his first stop. He will fall into the pack, but he can lose as much time as he wants there in the pack, because he has a very, very decent lead compared to Simeon. We see Seb Apostol coming out of the pit lane right in front of Victor Nicolae, which only means that Harry Phillips might be just in between these two. or maybe even behind Victor Nicolae. This is going to be very, very close. Let's see if everything goes well with Luke Whitehead's pit stop. He's there. He's stationary now in this this Porsche car. The number 21 aims for victory, and it can be an easy one. Now, Dragoș Simeon moves into the lead of the race, but yeah, this is going to be quite temporary. And we can see that Raffaele Di Nardo has closed in a bit on Simeon. We don't have those 5 seconds anymore. There are just 4 seconds now between these two. Hello everyone on the chat. Vamos Ivan. See, andale. We've got a Spanish driver as well in this series. We've got Ivan Fornes, and yeah, he's also trying to push on with his BMW. Again, a lot of pit stops now. Bugge, Phillips, Coffin and Fox. This is the one that we've been waiting for. The pit stop that Harry Phillips had to do. Let's see where he ends up. Ahead or behind Apostol, ahead or behind Victor Nicolae. That's our main focus now. Here is Victor, 2 seconds behind Apostol, and Harry Phillips is on the move in the 26 car. Let's see where he rejoins the track, and I think he is behind. Yeah, he's behind Victor Nicolae. So the move worked. Victor Nicolae with the 43.4 has done consecutive great laps to move ahead of Harry Phillips. This pays off. Yeah, he spent some time behind Harry Phillips, clearly feeling that he can be faster, and now he's going to be chasing towards Seb Apostol. That's for sure. We've got Simeon, we've got Zholobov in the pit lane, we've got Ulrich as well, trying to respond to the fact that his main rival, David Bugge, has pitted 1 lap before that, and now Castorino will be there. He will have that fight to take on. He's 2.2 seconds behind Bugge, and Ulrich should also come ahead of him. Dragoș Simeon in the pit lane. We also see the Ferrari of Oleg Zholobov right at the end of the pit lane. Zholobov has a lot of time to make up. Dragoș Simeon restarts, and we'll see where he is compared to Castorino. I think Dragoș Simeon is in an awesome position. Yes, we can see that. Dragoș Simeon is clearly ahead, but I don't know whether this pit stop has been the long one for Simeon. It seems so, but yeah, he still has the short pit stop to do. Ulrich, his race is done and dusted because he was speeding in the pit lane. He's coming out behind Castorino, and he will rejoin the pit lane for a stop and go of 30 seconds. Same thing goes to Garrett Mills. So 2 drivers that lose everything in the pit lane. It's not the first time that we see this. We saw it even with the best in the game. We've seen it with Luke Whitehead doing so at Snetterton in that battle with Victor Nicolae. He also got this stop and go and finished a lowly 9th there because of that stop and go. So one less issue to tackle for Castorino, and now Ulrich will be heading for the pit lane once more. But first, I think he'll be getting caught by Seb Apostol. We'll see if he will catch him during this lap. If he will lose time there. Castorino is trying to streak ahead of Apostol and Victor Nicolae, whilst the Mercedes drivers are now in the pit lane, both Di Nardo and Degano. Let's see whether Ulrich is going towards the pit lane now. He has to serve his penalty in 3 laps. He decides to stay out, so he's gonna be a factor in the battle with Apostol and Nicolae. He might help out Harry Phillips in the process. We'll see about that. Now Castorino is right on Bugge's tail. Let's see if he can move ahead. Here in turn 1, yes he does, and there's a light touch there. but he's ahead. It won't have a big impact. Bugge is clearly unhappy with that block pass move, but Castorino is not impressed, and he's moving further ahead. Bugge will be caught by Ulrich, but Ulrich only has 2 laps to play around in this area before he will be obliged to serve his penalty, thus not interfering with Apostol anymore. Apostol is right behind him now, so he will be losing time during this lap. Hopefully he won't get tangled with the driver that has nothing to lose, but Apostol is clearly losing time and getting frustrating during this lap. He would have wanted Ulrich to come into the pit lane at the first attempt, not to stay here anymore. So Castorino is past Bugge, and Apostol will go there as well. Now he's on the inside line and takes the position from Ulrich with a very clear move. There's no way to reply to this, and again Ulrich can decide if he goes towards the pit lane now or stays for another lap. He stays, so it means that bad news on the horizon for Victor Nicolae, who will also have to overcome the Aston Martin driver, but it's his right to serve his penalty whenever he wants. And if he decides to do it at the last attempt, then so be it.
We're starting to see some new personal bests now that we have new tires. Zholobov and Phillips have posted 143.3 respectively, 143.5 as the fastest from their running pack in the moment. But let's just wait and see what the others are going to do now on fresh rubber.
Yeah, we'll see about that. And Whitehead has some company now, because Castorino on that alternate strategy is really close. He had a big gap compared to Simeon, but there's none of that. If you compare Whitehead to Castorino, just 2 seconds between the Porsche and the BMW driver, and yeah, I can't say that Whitehead had any errors or something. It's just that battle that was going on, comparing them in several spots on the racetrack, meant that Castorino was clearly lapping quite solidly. Now Victor Nicolae starts to get impatient, but Ulrich should be out of the way because it's the 3rd lap since he got that stop and go, so he is out of the equation now. And also, what happens there? The McLaren of Qualy Cosford is being lapped by Seb Apostol. Seb Apostol now pushes on to move as close as he can to David Bugge and try to reduce the gap towards Amedeo Castorino. He's 3.3 seconds behind Castorino, with Victor Nicolae almost 2 seconds behind Seb. We'll see where Dragoș Simeon slots in. I think he's also in this podium fight in front of the Ferrari drivers. Let's go and see what Zholobov does in this battle with Degano. He might have his pace affected. You said about him going really fast. Yeah, a 43.3 was his personal best set last time around, but now he'll be slowed down a bit by Luca Degano. Luca Degano is by no means slow now. He's on fresh rubber too. They decided not to go for that strategy of not changing tires on the Hungaroring. Probably it really doesn't work. The loss is way too big. And yeah, he's in the 43s as well, 43.7. So Zholobov only gained 0.4, and if this is your net difference, then it's gonna be hard on the Hungaroring to make the move stick. Let's see what Zholobov will be doing, but first I think that here we're gonna have an overtake. Clearly, David Bugge cannot match Sebastian Apostol's pace, and yeah, he will be trying to use the power of the Bentley, but it might just not be enough. Bugge was almost in the 45s, 44.9 last time around. A cleaner lap now, 44.1. Flashes by Apostol, but that won't be impressing Bugge. Clearly a better line through the first corner by the winner at Imola in round 2. A drive-through for Degano. So yeah, we've been talking about track limits, and I'm sure that this is the reason he was trying to do everything he could to stay ahead of Zholobov, and he clearly overshot the limit on the outside of turn 5, and he kept his foot planted there, had the net gain, and ACC decided enough is enough. This is your 4th warning, and the 4th warning amounts to a drive-through. This is important. This is important because it takes Degano clearly out of this this podium fight. Same situation for him as we had for Ulrich. He has 3 laps from the announcement of the penalty up to the moment when he has to serve it. Let's see if he does it at the first attempt. Of course not. He'll be staying there to frustrate Zholobov a bit more, but Zholobov will know that his rival has a penalty and that he's not slow. 43.4 for Degano. Clearly there was time to be gained on the track, but also it seems off the track limits. So it's not dramatic for Zholobov to follow Degano for another maximum of 2 laps. That's obviously what's gonna happen. He will remain in clear air. Some 9 seconds behind Dragoș Simeon. Both have to pit once more, which means that this is the actual gap between Simeon and Zholobov. We don't know where they will end up in the pack with Castorino, Apostol, Nicolae and Harry Phillips, but that's clearly the fight for P2. Whitehead is gapping Castorino now. There were 2 seconds between them, and now it has doubled. It has amounted to 4.6. So clearly Whitehead is sticking on to the plan, and he corrects the fastest lap of the race right now with a 42.7. This is the new fastest lap of this race. 42s are really depressing to see for the rest of the guys involved in this race, because yeah, they cannot be there.
Yeah, Whitehead has made the fastest time with, I think his last fastest time was a 142.9, so the less amount of fuel and the new rubber is clearly talking now. Other drivers are also posting personal bests. Got Degano with a 143.4, and more in the back Coffin with a 144.1. He's not as fast as the guys in top 10, but at least he doesn't have drivers behind or in front of him near.
Definitely, this is the last lap that Degano will spend here in 2nd place. He will have to go into the pits and relinquish this position and leave a clear track to his rival, his current rival, Zholobov. We'll see where Degano rejoins, because his pit stop might be right at the death, right at the end of the race, and he can be thrown into that battle with Castorino, Apostol, Nicolae, with this drive-through. He might be there. Let's see. Victor Nicolae moves past David Bugge, and now we have Harry Phillips, who attempts to do the same. We'll see if Bugge fights in the corner, but it's a losing battle there. He's out of the right place to be on track. He's not on the racing line, and Harry Phillips keeps in touch with Victor Nicolae. They both move past Bugge. There was a clear difference between the rhythm of these guys, and we lost another driver in the meantime. Martin Ulrich also did the Darren King move, I would call it, of not proceeding in this race once he got the penalty. Here's Degano going to serve his drive-through, and I'm very curious where he will end up in the pack. It's obvious that Zholobov, Dinardo, Whitehead are moving past. Castorino might as well. But in that area with Apostol, Nicolae and Phillips, we might have the Mercedes as well. Let's witness the end of this drive-through phase. We've got Castorino moving in now, and the train led by Seb Apostol. Yeah, Apostol moves past, so do Nicolae and Phillips. So he's not influencing this battle. He's behind Bugge. He will need to go past the Bentley. Degano and Bugge are in a similar fight. They both need to stop again, and so do the top three of Simeon, Zholobov and Dinardo. There's no reason for them to pit right now. They will battle on for almost the entirety of the race and pit as late as they can, probably. Here we see Victor Nicolae with Harry Phillips really close now. He's piling up the pressure. He's trying to get this position. It's crucial between them who gets more points. It's a clear fight between these two in the championship standings. Let's see them again. Nicolae on 385 points, Phillips 8 points behind the Romanian. They are both losing some points to Castorino, but Phillips would like to get ahead of Nicolae if he can in that Porsche car. They are all gaining on Zholobov, I think. We'll see where he will be pitting, but by my calculations, Zholobov will be behind Phillips. So again, his lead will be reduced, but not drastically. Yeah, he will pay the price of being tagged by Darren King, but it's not a hefty price, since there are big differences in the pack, and I would say that only 5 or 6 drivers clearly have the pace to stay ahead of Zholobov by the end of the race. So we'll see about that. Here we have Phillips pushing on in turn 1, but he cannot make this move stick past Victor Nicolae. He's not forcing the issue. Here it was more of a problem for Nicolae, but not a clear opportunity. You see Bugge still defending in front of Degano, taking Degano out of this fight. They will be pitting, so probably losing position to Fornes, and even Joe Coffin may be in the mix once Bugge and Degano will have pitted. On board with the Mercedes, as Degano feels that he's faster than Bugge, but he needs to line him up for a move. He's not close enough, not just yet. Dragoș Simeon is leading this race in front of Oleg Zholobov and Raffaele Dinardo. Zholobov 8.6 seconds. He's comparing himself with Simeon. He's aiming to get that spot from the Romanian until the end of the race. Might be hard, because it's their pace is quite similar, and Degano decides that it's best not to run behind Bugge anymore, so it's time for that Joker pit stop to be a bit anticipated, to be done right now. And let's see if he moves from one issue to another, if he's gonna be behind Fornes or Coffin, or maybe even Marcus Fox. Let's see how fast he can complete this pit stop. It's very important to stop exactly at the right spot, not to waste time there, and it doesn't seem that short. All right, now Degano is clearly up to speed again, and he's behind Fox. He will be having a fight with Fox and then Coffin, because he's clearly faster than these two. Yeah, unfortunately, Luca Degano cannot do much in this race after the drive-through, which can only mean one thing. Simeon is looking at his 7th spot in the standings. He might make up those 8 points. It's gonna be close between Degano and Simeon, with Simeon clearly on course for more points during this race than the Italian driver. Here's Victor Nicolae still ahead of Harry Phillips. Let's see what Phillips can do. Up until now, he hasn't forced the mistake from Victor Nicolae, and that is the standard of the top drivers in this series. Both Nicolae and Phillips are in this mix. Phillips even won that duel with Nicolae at Snetterton. He has a win in this season. Victor Nicolae does not. He's been in second place there in the British round, but a string of consecutive fourth places has brought him up into contention. And following Bathurst and that problematic round of Phillips, he moved past Phillips and up into second place in the standings, which is where he's striving to remain. Maybe even improve on that if the opportunity arises. We'll see. Again, what the direct comparison between Victor Nicolae and Oleg Zholobov is. At the current time, they are lapping identical times. Seb Apostol, Victor Nicolae, also Oleg Zholobov, 43.5 last time around. Nothing to gain there. Dragoș Simeon, 43.9. He's losing some tenths, but it's not crucial. The gap is diminishing between Simeon and Zholobov, but there's nothing yet to worry. It should be enough in hand for Simeon to keep his place ahead of Zholobov, but we're gonna have a clearer picture once they will be pitting, and that doesn't seem to be anytime soon. There's no reason why they should do this. Let's see what Castorino does. He's matching Victor Nicolae. He's not matching Luke Whitehead, who's clearly running away with this victory once more. But Sebastian Apostol is faster than Castorino. We'll see whether it's a bit too late for Apostol to make an impression on Castorino. 3.3 seconds down on the Italian, but lapping at about 0.3 of a second faster per lap compared to the Qualy.CEST Racing member, the sole member of this team in this championship. So he's the top BMW now. We'll see whether he will remain in front of Dragoș Simeon. It seems so. After
it seems a bit late for Apostol now.
It does. It does.
Only 0.3. But let's see. Let's follow up for the next laps. Maybe the difference will be bigger. That's what he needs. I don't know the resources that he has in the car. But being on BMWs, I don't know how much he can win.
I'm looking at the gap between Simeon and Zholobov, and whenever this gap during a lap is decreasing by more than half a second, then it's time for Simeon to worry. As long as it does not, then it's fine. This is a rough estimate. It's not a precise calculation of time lost per what's remaining in the race, but in general now we see that Zholobov sometimes he can claw back half a second from Simeon, and some other times he cannot. So it's still a fight, I would say, despite those 7.6 seconds. With 20 minutes remaining, I would say that these two might be really close by the end of the race.
Yeah, Zholobov seems to be trying different things and see what is going, which one is better, because the differences between the laps are quite big, so he might be trying either pushing too hard or going a bit slower, which we've seen in racing that going slower doesn't really mean that you are not fast. Less aggression may also produce fast times, so he's a bit inconstant at the moment, but still gaining on Simeon.
Now he made a bit of a mess. He lost some precious time there. You see that the gap is again over 8 seconds, and here with Harry Phillips pushing on behind Victor Nicolae. Victor is clearly showing some defensive lines at times, whenever he feels that Phillips might be close. And I was just thinking while you were speaking that probably some of these drivers are still battling not only with the racetrack and their own car, but also with a limit of 3 warnings now. Maybe we'll see a shocker. I do not wish it for anyone in the series, but I can't take this out of the equation. We have seen also in all the leagues, sometimes right at the death comes a drive-through penalty and completely messes out your race, because now it's clear, for instance, that in this battle both of them are really pushing. Both Victor Nicolae and Harry Phillips are trying to go as fast as they can, but to keep their cars within their limit if they know that they have already amassed 3 warnings, which might be the case for a lot of drivers in this race, because we know if you give them this liberty of crossing the line a few times, they will take it, and they will force the issue up until the penalty looms, and then they will start behaving.
Indeed, we are in the late stages of this race, and we are looking at this onboard between from Harry Phillips. He seems to be throwing the car much more on the curbs, much more on the outside, but Nicolae seems to be taking more care of the car and not going out of the track so much.
I think Nicolae knows by now.
There should be a case of which one of them has 2 warnings and which one has 3 warnings.
Could be.
Let's see how this plays.
I think Nicolae knows by now if there's half a chance somewhere on the racetrack for Harry Phillips to attempt an overtake. I think he has the measure of Harry Phillips, and he has seen where the strong points are for his car and for the opponent's car, and thus I think he's confident at the moment in keeping Harry Phillips behind. What I'm also seeing now is the fact that Seb Apostol is making a strong impression lately on Castorino. During the last two laps, the gap has halved. It's just 1.5 seconds now between the 2 BMWs. We were saying that it didn't seem possible when the gap was 3 seconds and they were running similar lap times with only 2 or 3 tenths being gained by Apostol on each lap. But now Apostol is really putting his foot down and aiming to pile up some pressure in the final part of this race. You see him pushing out of the chicane, 2 wheels on the dirt, and there's a lot of time to be lost there, but Castorino is not steering away from him. It seems that Castorino as well is trying to push, and I think I know what's happening in here. Apostol has some laps to try and claw back and gain a place on Castorino. If he does so, then it's benefiting Victor Nicolae, but if he stays here, he might be giving up this position to his teammate right at the death, because he needs it more than Apostol. Apostol is not in the championship fight as long as everyone is on track, and they are here. Zholobov is here, Castorino is here, so are Harry Phillips and Victor Nicolae, and of course Luke Whitehead. So he's not gaining on 6th place overall. He's doing a good race, but he needs to get past Castorino for himself and to benefit the team, because otherwise he might be instructed later on to join in between Victor Nicolae and Harry Phillips, and that's not going to be easy. Phillips is trying to stay as close as possible to Victor Nicolae to prevent this from happening. He knows very well that these guys are teammates. Ooh, again wide there in turn 5 for Seb Apostol. Hopefully no time gained. It seemed a slow approach there, and the gap is now down to 1.0, so he's gonna be within the same second as Castorino really soon. They're going through the chicane. He's clearly pushing, and it's a joy to see people going at it when they got nothing to lose and no strategy things to think of anymore. It's obvious now they are going towards the checkered flag, and they need to decide this battle on track in between themselves.
Yeah, the gap has reduced between Zholobov and Dragoș Simeon at 7 seconds now, 7.1 to be precise. But Zholobov has put some good laps together. Let's see if he makes another mistake. But we weren't used with those kind of mistakes from him. We are down to less than 15 minutes of this race, and at this rate, he doesn't seem to be winning enough.
I'm looking also at Degano. He's clearly stuck there. He hasn't made any progress. I was saying that he might claim a position of 2 from Fox and then from Coffin, but he's not doing so, not yet. He's faster, 44.0 last time around for the Mercedes driver, but Coffin and Fox are also in the 44s, which only means it's not going to be an easy task for Luca Degano to move ahead, to gain those places from the 2 Porsche cars. On the other hand, I think that Luke Whitehead might need to spice it up a bit, because he will be catching Raffaele Di Nardo. If Di Nardo leaves his last pit stop as late as possible, maybe at the final attempt when time is already done, Luke Whitehead will be there with the Mercedes driver until then, and we'll see whether Di Nardo will cooperate or will show some resistance. Castorino is now 12 seconds behind, and he won't be lapping fast during this phase of the race, because Seb Apostol is now right under his rear wing. He caught up to the Italian driver. He made, I think, a smart race. Probably Apostol took good care of the tires early on in the stint, and now has an advantage, because it seems the advantage seems to be big, and it sure wasn't the case during the early part of the race. Let's see what Apostol is attempting in turn 1. He shows himself. Castorino covers, and now he won't be on a good exit, but it's good enough to keep Apostol at bay. Whilst behind from the helicopter shot, we still see that Harry Phillips is trying his best, everything he can, to move past Victor Nicolae's BMW that also has some ballast on, some 8 kilograms, but clearly that makes a difference between himself and Apostol. Apostol can run and catch Amedeo Castorino, whilst Victor Nicolae can only think about when this race will end and where everyone is going to be around him, because he doesn't seem to have the argument to move forward, and he's got a ton of pressure from Harry Phillips behind. The 2 fastest drivers now on the racetrack are Luke Whitehead, the de facto leader of this race, and Raffaele Di Nardo. So Raffaele Di Nardo won't be caught that easily, because he's also down in the 43s and nobody else is there. Only Whitehead and Di Nardo.
The Mercedes driver has found some real pace in that car that hasn't been showing much in the first stages of this race.
Here we have Di Nardo, and Whitehead is some 2 seconds behind him, but on the last lap the gain was minimal. It was 2/10. So if Whitehead stays there and Di Nardo keeps on lapping these solid lap times, it means just one thing. It means that Di Nardo will be going towards the pit lane before the clock stops, and Whitehead will not need to overtake him on track. Zholobov still a bit faster than Dragoș Simeon, but 5 seconds should be enough. During the last lap, they both did 44.1s, which is good.
Yeah, yes, but last lap I think Dragoș had an issue or a small mistake, because the gap has reduced dramatically. About 2 seconds were cut off from the distance to Zholobov.
Yeah,
it's only 5 seconds now. It was it was a 1:46, which is a bit unusual for him.
Yeah, probably a small mistake, but that only means that it's not going to be repeated. so he's not too worried about if after that mistake he was able to match Zholobov's time. Let's see what it is right now. He's back in the 43s, 43.7 for Dragoș Simeon. This is good enough, even though Zholobov does a 43.5. Let's go into this battle with Castorino and Seb Apostol. 9 minutes to go, and Seb Apostol is now attempting again to line Castorino up for a move in the first corner, where it's the most obvious way of overtaking. Let's be careful to the gap between Victor Nicolae and Harry Phillips now, because Nicolae is also fast and he left Phillips 1 second adrift. He clearly lapped faster than Castorino last time around. Did a 44.2 Victor Nicolae, and he can shake off Phillips now. Let's see what Phillips can do, if he can respond in clear air, because he's got some clear air now, given that that second that is there. But here is the focal point. This is going to be a battle for P2 probably. We'll see where Simeon slots in. I think he's going to be around Victor Nicolae, but again, don't trust my calculations that much. I think he's going to be there with Nicolae, Harry Phillips, which means that Zholobov will be in between Phillips and Fornes once Bugge will be out of that group. He also has to pit. Castorino defends well. Defending is an art, and we've got such examples across the years here at the Hungaroring. The last one was one that you've mentioned at the beginning of our broadcast, when Lewis Hamilton had to appreciate what Fernando Alonso did ahead of him. It was voted as the FIA move of the year. It wasn't a particular move covering a few seconds. It was lap after lap after lap of defense from Fernando Alonso that sealed the victory for his team, for his teammate, because Lewis Hamilton had no more time to catch and pass Esteban Ocon given the loss with Alonso. It was spectacular to watch. It's rare now with DRS in Formula 1. You rarely see such defensive master classes being rewarded, but that one was, and this is an art that can be usually practiced here at the Hungaroring. Bugge is in the pits. Sebastian Apostol pushes on, trying to destabilize Amedeo Castorino. Victor Nicolae proves the same thing as Seb. As laps go by, he made a good, let's say, economy of rubber. His tire wear is clearly allowing him to be fast now in the latter parts of the race, and he has shaken off Harry Phillips during these laps. Another 3/10 gained by Victor Nicolae. He's not yet here in this battle, but he might be, because Castorino has to defend, especially in turn 1. They are both losing a lot of time. 1.6 seconds lost with these defensive moves, and I'm fearful for tags and incidents between these two, because Castorino is showing absolutely no trace of vulnerability, of visible vulnerability, to leave anything open, any door open to Seb Apostol. Wonderful defensive move again in turn 1, and they are both losing a lot of time. Seb Apostol pushes the issue and tags Castorino into a half spin. This is gonna be investigated. Now Seb Apostol, of course, he won't mess up with Castorino, but Castorino is clearly unhappy, and Seb Apostol will clearly be penalized. And unfortunately, this is not something that's in the script for the team. I know these guys all too well, and they are not up for dirty tactics. You cannot say that Seb Apostol had any visible desire to tag Castorino into a spin. He was just trying to move past the Italian driver, and he now leaves Castorino vulnerable to Harry Phillips. I was saying early on that we might expect fireworks at the end of this race. Raffaele Di Nardo is now pitting. He has not been caught by Luke Whitehead. He will drop down the order behind this quartet, but soon we will see Apostol probably receiving a drive-through penalty, which will drop him back again behind Di Nardo. I'm speculating, but we've seen these decisions being made really fast, and now Castorino is under attack from Harry Phillips. He has to cover him just as he did with Apostol. He's trying the same move. We look at the standings once more. 2 points between Castorino and Phillips. Phillips wants to move ahead. If he moves ahead, he will be on equal points with Castorino. Here we see Di Nardo rejoining in 8th place. What's the gap? 10 seconds. This means that Dragoș Simeon will be in that mix. He will be in the area of Castorino and Harry Phillips, because he was about 10 seconds ahead of Di Nardo before Di Nardo's pit stop. Correct me if I'm wrong, Radu. I wasn't really paying attention to the gap between first and third. I was only looking at what's between Simeon and Zholobov, but I think it's approximately that.
Yeah, you're right. I made some calculations, and it does seem that way.
Zholobov pits now. Let's see where he rejoins. He should be some 5 seconds ahead of Di Nardo, which means it's behind Phillips, behind Victor Nicolae, behind Castorino, and behind Phillips. He will be losing points to all 3 of them, and that means that from the championship perspective, Victor Nicolae makes a brilliant operation. Here's the drive-through for Seb Apostol. There was absolutely no way he could avoid this getting this penalty once the move was performed. And here we see that Castorino is under attack from Harry Phillips, and Zholobov is really close to the pair of them. So it means that if they continue to fight, Zholobov has a chance. I think the wise thing now for Castorino and Phillips would be to cooperate during these final laps, in order to assure themselves that they both finish ahead of Zholobov, and thus having better chances at the final, which is going to be next week at Misano next Tuesday. We're going to have Paul Walsh back at the main commentary. I'll be switching on back to Romanian for this parallel stream, but from now on, let's see Phillips on the inside of Castorino, and this is the move that he was looking for. Let's see if he can stay there. No, Castorino is trying to cover it. They are both in parallel. Of course, it's the last attempt. Dragoș Simeon is in the pits. We'll see where he joins in. But now Phillips has made his move past Castorino. This is important. Seb Apostol will go for a drive-through. Castorino tried to respond in the penultimate turn. No response there. I think this is Phillips's place, and Castorino now will have to defend against Zholobov for the last lap of the race. It's over. The 90 minutes are over, which means Dragoș Simeon will start the last lap, and he rejoins in front of Harry Phillips. It's a brilliant operation for West Competition, because he is now there in a podium, almost in a podium position. No, he is in a podium position. He's down to third. Whitehead takes the lead of the race. It's a relaxed lead of almost half a minute compared to Victor Nicolae, who will finish second. Seb Apostol is completing his drive-through. He's down to 8th place behind Raffaele Di Nardo. That's going to be his finishing position. Let's see what happens here between Castorino and Zholobov. Zholobov only at 6th place. He'll be losing some important points to Victor Nicolae, especially. Victor Nicolae will close him down. Let's see a small comparison once they all cross the finish line. Luke Whitehead is 2 corners away from a victory that moves him closer to the top of the standings, but it's not enough because everybody else who's ahead of him is gonna get a lot of points out of this race. Luke Whitehead claims the Hungaroring race in a dominant fashion, whilst Victor Nicolae will be very, very happy with the 70 points that he's gonna score, which means that he'll be taking 9 points out of Zholobov's lead, and Zholobov's lead was 17 points. It's perfect for Victor Nicolae ahead of Dragoș Simeon, scoring his first podium of the season. It comes late. He had some chances early on in the season, but finally this is how it ends. Harry Phillips in 4th, Castorino in 5th, clearly unhappy. He might accuse the West Competition team of doing some tactics, but I think that Seb Apostol has proven that he's a clean racer, and now he's finishing the race in 8th spot ahead of Ivan Fornes and Joe Coffin. Everyone makes mistakes. It was Apostol's time to make one, and that means that he's affecting the championship order now. Joe Coffin in 10th, Degano can only finish 11th, so he caught up and overtook Fox, but no more than that. Bugge in 13th, Cosford 14th, Van Rostens and Mills. These are the 16 drivers that have finished this race. You see the Porsche duo of Whitehead and Phillips. They are both Brits. They do not run for the same team, but yeah, they're friendly with one another. We see now some of the penalties and everything else. This has been our broadcast. What are our takeaways after this race, Radu? What do you see happening in the final at Misano?
It's been a great race, and for Castorino and Phillips, who are now equal on points, there's a 2-point difference. There was a 2-point difference before this race. Now going into the finale, Castorino in his home race at Misano. Let's see if he knows the track better than Harry Phillips, and if he can also go second in the championship order. We will wait and see, but for the top spot, there's all to play for.
Absolutely, the gap has decreased between Zholobov and Victor Nicolae. It has basically halved, so now Victor Nicolae can only hope of scoring a similar result to dispatch Zholobov from there, but Zholobov will not have any ballast in the final race, so strategically it might not be too bad for the Ferrari driver if the Ferrari goes well at Misano. You talked about home advantage. I've seen it in qualifying sessions for SRO and other series lately. You know, when we're tackling Monza, for instance, the Italians are always there. They seem to find something in their home track, despite the fact that we're in sim racing, so anyone can light up a server and race wherever they want. It seems that the Italians do have more mileage on their home tracks. They have a lot of home tracks here. We saw Luca Degano fighting for the win at the Imola round and less so at the other rounds, so it was clearly an advantage for him, and maybe the car also that track. Let's see what Castorino has in the bag for Misano. 3 Italian tracks in ACC. One of them hosts the final. 1 Italian driver is in the mix for the championship. I would say that now Seb Apostol's chances are over. Luke Whitehead didn't claim any position because everyone else finished within the top 6. All the 4 drivers that are ahead of him in the standings have finished the race with a decent amount of points gathered. So his net gain was small. he's expecting a miracle, and not just one miracle, he's expecting 4 miracles to happen at Misano for everyone else in front of him to score really lowly positions or not to join the server or have issues or something like that. I think Whitehead has been the class of the field in terms of pace in this series once Van de Velde decided not to pursue his stay in the Next Gen Racing World Tour. But unfortunately, he will end up with clearly the most wins. He's got 4. The other ones are on just 1 win. Nobody has scored more than 1 except Whitehead. But as for the standings, it's gonna be between Zholobov, Victor Nicolae, Harry Phillips, and Amedeo Castorino. And on this conclusion, we're gonna end this stream. It has been a pleasure to sub for these past 2 weeks for the regular commentator. Hope you had a wonderful vacation, Paul, and come up fresh because you've got a crazy final on your hands to comment next week. And for the Romanian fans, we're going to be lighting up our separate stream in our native language to support Victor Nicolae's quest for the next gen title. Will he succeed? Will he be beaten by Zholobov, Phillips, or Castorino? We'll see in 7 days. Thanks a lot, Radu, for covering this event with me. I've been Alex Chiclovan. This has been the 7th round of the Next Gen World Tour. See you next time.